I believe we also have folks online, so also want to welcome them as well. So we'll start with our roll call, first order of business. Henry, can you do that for us?
Albright,
Here.
Ashley Carson Cottingham,
Here.
Jeffrey Crapper,
Here.
Chris Cronin,
Present.
Jackie Crook,
Here.
Lori Danzuka,
Here.
Katrina Dowdy.
Here.
He's online. Neelam Gupta, Linda Hamilton,
Present.
Chris Howard,
Here.
Greg Kentz,
Here.
Erica Lopez,
Here.
Steve Lowell.
Here.
Sonia McKenzie,
Here.
Alonso Oliveros,
Here.
Chrissy Wrights,
Here.
Scott Rogers,
Here.
Emily Smith,
Here.
Dawn Watson,
Here.
Maureen Wolf, Sammy Aladabra,
Here.
Linda Brown with OAESD,
Here.
Craig Hawkins, Guadalupe Martina Zapata.
Here.
Kim Morgan. We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to, well, first of all, I just wanted to extend a greetings and welcome to our guests who are here virtually and in person. Thank you for being here. Move to item 2 to approve the agenda. Do I hear a move to approve the agenda as presented?
Madam President, I'd like to move to add additional items to the agenda today. After agenda item 5, I'd like to request an update to the board regarding the whistleblower complaint for the November 2nd Board of Directors meeting, and then discussion regarding the capacity of the current president-elect to serve as an association officer.
Second. I was gonna say out of order. I'd like to, as that is out of order, I'd like to move on. That item was not submitted there was no notification to our notice prior to this meeting to add the item to the agenda.
Madam Chair, I believe that you can add items at the time to the agenda.
Yeah, point of order.
Point of order.
Yeah, Linda.
Thank you, Sonia. I agree. I think in every board member, I bet you can add to the agenda. So
I'd say out of order, and then we cannot add it to the agenda.
Sonia, can you show me something that says we cannot add that to the order? Please.
Do we, Madam Chair, point of information, do we have a parliamentarian or can we designate? Do we have a parliamentarian or can we designate a parliamentarian who may facilitate parliamentarian answers?
Yes. So I can appoint Sammy to do that.
Is there any objection, Madam Chair, for me to serve as an parliamentarian?
I object.
Objection is noted.
Yeah, point.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Chris Howard to serve as parliamentarian.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes.
I rise for a point of order, an agenda item to be presented without prior notice to the assembly at hand, with items that may include a review of policies and some privileged information that the executive committee is going to be reviewing on Monday. It might be jeopardizing the integrity of the institution and may provide some risk for the institution. That's why the point of order that I want to raise is adding an agenda item to the agenda without prior notice might be against our against our practices. That being said, it is the purview of the chair to rule on the point of order I just made, and the ruling of the chair is sustained until it's sustained, period. So, Madam Chair, based on my points of order, I ask you to either sustain the points of order that's been made or dismiss it.
I sustain the point of order. Therefore,
Just point of order, I was able to confirm, but an agenda can be approved under Robert's Rules of Order parliamentarian by 2/3 of the vote.
I call for a vote.
Ashley,
I'd like to see clarification on at least two separate agenda items,
That is correct.
and can we vote on them separately?
okay, and what is the first? For someone remind me the first.
The first, as I understand it, was to review the whistleblower complaint,
Yes,
updates on that.
Ashley, if I may, I can repeat the motion as I present.
I can repeat it too. The second was to call into question something about our president-elect eligibility.
So the first is to review the whistleblower complaints, the second is the eligibility of the president. So we're restating that.
I believe you had a second for the,
For the vote,
for the vote on both of them.
Madam Chair. Yes.
I believe a point of order is a privileged motion over a call for a vote, and you have sustained the point of order that the adding of the two agenda items is against the order of the business, because of no prior notice of these agenda items. And since the chair have decided, the decision of this chair is sustained, and we need to move on. We can't call for a vote after a point of order has been made.
Madam Chair, clarification on Robert's rules, that typically you submit it prior to the meeting or at the start of the meeting as a proposed topic of discussion. So it is within Robert's rules, it is available, and it's not something that we have not heard of prior to this. It's not a brand new topic.
Jeffrey,
I'll leave it go ahead. Yes.
I second what Chris said. It's not a brand new topic, and we can add to the agenda.
And I'll also add that I know that this is an issue that was brought before the committee beforehand and was not addressed. So it is not a new topic to the board as well.
What topic?
The eligibility of the president-elect.
When was that then?
It was mentioned and brought up to concerns to the chair earlier.
as mentioned, Lynn, reminding you.
I had made that mention when we discussed it previously as an executive committee, and it's also been discussed previously at the board.
It has, I don't remember being discussed in the board. Maybe an executive committee meeting. Don,
I believe that this topic was. As I can remember, this topic was on when we were doing during the retreat, we were going to discuss this as an item of changing our, what is that called? The bylaws, and then due to time, we were told that my understanding was that we were gonna talk about it again at a later date, that it was on the agenda for talking about it in the bylaws, but that's my understanding.
Madam Chair, points of information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To my esteemed colleague, Director Watson, point, it is true, there was a bylaw addition that did not pass through any committee, and it was inserted into the proposal to the full membership as a bylaw change. That future, I can't quote it, but there was a line item as a bylaw change that was proposed to the full membership. And when I spoke against it, in lieu of not preventing any future caucus members, and I was told by the executive director I would be grandfathered, so it's not relevant. Nevertheless, our discussion on that bylaw change was not to add a bylaw change that has not been added through the governance committee, number one, and also on the merits of that policy change. That is a proposal to the full membership as a bylaws amendment. That was the topic at hand. I believe, Madam Chair, and I have to acknowledge I'm conflicted here because I welcome a vote of confidence on my leadership, but adding it as an agenda item right now, may jeopardize the organization to deliberately have proper counsel and to examine prior counsel that we have received on this matter. That's number one. Number two, I reiterate that there is a whistleblower complaint that has been presented to the board, and the board made a decision. The executive committee made additional decisions on such whistleblower complaints to maintain the integrity of the whistleblower complaints process and further information that is in front of the executive committee where there might be a conflict of interest with some officers, including the officer who made the motion. I request that a legal counsel, external legal counsel, provide guidance to the president and the executive committee on how we set the agenda on these two topics, and provide very clear guidance on how officers who may have been involved in or named or mentioned in the investigative report to be recused, so we can maintain the integrity of this organization.
Erica, go ahead.
I don't know all the proper wording. So I was just gonna recollect from what our kind of like Dawn follow up from what I remember in our last meeting was that we were gonna pull that one item and have it go to governance committee to review. And then we were gonna have them bring back a proposal for that. But I don't recall that we were gonna just further discuss it at another meeting. It was that we were asking for that one item to be pulled and then discuss to go through governance committee and then come back to us as a recommendation. And then on the other thing, I think I'm a little concerned just about the sensitive, how when we had a board meeting, there was a lot of sensitive information. And I'm concerned to start talking about it in a broader meeting now. So I don't know what the proper wording is, but that's my issue with it.
Yes, Jonathan.
And I guess my point of order is, I believe having an ex officio member as an officer is a violation of policy 3.5.4. And so that is something I at least want to have the chair address.
I just found this is very difficult going on right now and pretty, I don't know the word conspiracy or interest or what the heck's going on, but I have to say with that complaint and listen to what Sammy just said, if there's other officers in this room that are in that complaint and do not know about it, since you two been guiding this complaint, I've never been able to open it, although it was sent out. And I wasn't able to open it. If there's other officers in the complaint that are in this room, you guys are liable for a lawsuit against both of you. That was back in July, and we cannot, in my personal opinion, I'm getting very, in my personal opinion, we cannot move forward without addressing that issue. So we can sit here all day. I'm only 2 hours up the road. We can sit here all day, please, and recall the training. I'm concerned. That's mine. I'm concerned. We cannot move forward without having discussion and update.
Madam President, may I have the floor?
Yes.
Madam President, if I may have the floor, I want to have maximum 2 minutes, and they might be the most 2 minutes I will say in my whole professional and volunteering career. Trust is broken right now. We are a learning institution, and I'm not sure if we're doing the learning properly. Motions are made. They could be institutional abuse of how we can conduct business, or they can be institutional improvements and learning. And you're going to be presented right now with very sensitive decisions and decision-making and perceptions. And we need to be very judicious, prioritizing what I encourage you to prioritize in 3 things. Number 1, the integrity of this institution. The integrity of this institution and how we make decisions very, very carefully with legal guidance, so we don't jeopardize the integrity and the compliance of this institution with laws and policies. We do this for business with other school districts. If we don't do this right, no one will trust us to do the right thing when we advise them and counsel us. Number one, integrity of this institution. Number two, fairness to the process and fairness to our people. Meaning fairness to our executive director, fairness to officers who have been named in this process, fairness to employees who have been named in this process, fairness to those who elevated this process where they have legal rights to be protected. Number three, and I hate to mention that, but it is our fiduciary responsibility as we follow the law, we follow processes, we follow legal counsel to protect the fiduciary responsibility of this institution so we don't introduce any liabilities with impromptu motions that may actually jeopardize a whistleblower process or a whistleblower follow-up. So in conclusion with these three things, here's what I would encourage the floor to really consider. Madam President, you have received a whistleblower report that has been investigated when you have received it. Madam President, you have asked the legal counsel who has been previously retained by OSBA to receive those whistleblower complaints. And you engage with them and ask them, can I provide that to the executive committee? They declined. You ask them if you can have an additional officer to maintain business and continuity. So if you're sick or anything happens to you, we can move the business. And I have, Madam President, may I have additional 2 minutes?
Yes, do it.
Thank you. So because of that, we introduced to the board legal counsel, which we cannot speak of right now, in terms of what happened during executive session. Matt, fast forward to the general meeting. The board made a decision, and I can't quote the motion, but basically found out that or decided to move forward without making a formal acceptance of the whistleblower complaint. Now, we understand that the executive committee have met in public meeting and there is a follow-up steps. There are follow-up additional information that are very pertinent to the issue at hand and additional issues. And if they are not handled properly, they may jeopardize the integrity of this institution. They may jeopardize, if we don't follow thoroughly, it may jeopardize the integrity of how we do it because there are individuals who may need to be recused from the discussion. And we need very clear guidance on how to move forward. The executive committee is waiting on Monday for an independent legal counsel to be retained or to recommend to the board to be retained who never engaged in this whistleblower investigation, never engaged with any officer or OSBA or board member or an employee so they can help us have the next steps. We do this here. I worry, Madam President, we will jeopardize the integrity of this institution. We will do irreversible harm to our employee and other employees. And we may jeopardize the protections that are in the law and our policies against retaliation or revealing of the identity of the whistleblower. As such, Madam President, I really encourage the membership not to add those 2 items on the agenda. It appears to be the will of multiple people to want to discuss it, and I affirm my commitment, and I understand your commitments, and I understand the commitments of that executive committee to bring back to that board full and thorough information about the 2 topics at hand. And I don't want to discuss the agenda item of questioning my eligibility. But there's a vote of confidence of this membership that I should not lead, bring it on directly, not implicitly. We can expel or cause with a notice. I'm speaking, I have the floor.
I'm extending the time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. And I'm sorry to scream because we need to speak to each other with respect and without interrupting. And I've been interrupted 3 or 4 times by an officer throughout this process. This is not fair. If my leadership is questioned and I cannot lead this institution, you can expel me for a cause. And I'm okay with that, if that's the willingness of the membership or the directors, because I serve at your pleasure. But, Madam President, I have to call this out. Two officers of color doing their job, especially when it is uncomfortable. Being punished by the policies is something I have seen again and again and again. I'm seeing it right now. And I ask you to recognize it for what it is. Let us do our job collectively, ethically, and judiciously. As such, adding the agenda item at this time is out of order. And the president have ruled it is out of order.
And I just want to, thank you, I'd like to say something as well, it is out of order. And I'm not comfortable moving forward with a discussion on something that could potentially put the organization at risk. We have a process, I have a process and a meeting tomorrow with the executive team to address additional information. And it's vitally important to our organization that we protect the integrity of the process. And then we were able to share that information after convening the executive committee. I'm not comfortable with sharing any additional information regarding the complaint in a public meeting because of the potential liabilities to the organization. I'll go with, go ahead. I'm sorry, no, hey, Dawn, go ahead. You have her hand raised?
Oh, yeah. Can I have a microphone? Sorry.
I just wanted to state on, I forgot my notes again, sorry, I apologize. I know, I just wanted to say, when I was not able to open the whistleblower complaint either. And I'm a little concerned with people's names, I have no idea if I'm even listed in there as well. So when we're talking about fairness, I think it's to be fair that some of us feel like we're totally in the dark. And I think that we're all trying our best to do what's best for our students and our boards and our community. And I think it's fair for us to be able to read reports to know if we're even involved in them and to have the information. And my personal thing is, I feel like I'm just in the dark, right? Like I don't know what's going on. And I just don't think that again, I'm also worried about the integrity of this organization, but I think not talking about it is not going to help. And so that's just my 2 cents. And I would like to see those of us that weren't able to open the report would be able to open it. Thank you.
So, and thank you for that. And we can't ask legal counsel to resend. There were instructions. It is a protected PDF that was sent with instruction on
The
how
instructions
to
weren't
open.
included in.
I mean, we can certainly have it resend. That's outside of my control.
Okay, I know, I'm not blaming you.
I know you're not. I'm not taking it personally. Jeffrey, go ahead.
Actually, Chris has been waiting longer. She needs to go first, and I'll go second.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right, thank you. As many people know, I do look to policy when there are questions and concerns. And we have 2 things that have brought up some questions, and the people that have spoken to Sammy, Dawn, they brought up good observations about this. I bring us back on the whistleblower, back to policy 7750. In that policy, I am speaking. Thank you. Policy 7750, whistleblower and non-retaliation. And that policy was put in place back in 2011 and 2012. And that policy does not include action by the board. My concern, and I don't want to go too far into this because we're still dealing with this as an action item to add and not discussion, but this whole process should not have been brought to the board. And I think that's where continuing to have conversation. If you look at the policy does not include board action. The policy does not include action.
Point of order.
And so I'd like to finish. I gave you.
Resolution motion at the point of order, please. Or you're saying this. No, please.
Madam Chair, you mentioned about fairness, and this is not fair.
All right.
Madam, let her finish.
Madam President, I want to remind my colleague, interpreting the bylaws, especially whether the board may make an action or not on an accusation that was included in whistleblower complaint that names its employee, and I want to be very clear. I'm not making any judgments of whether the accusations were sustained or not. And I'm not going to disclose the information, but information against its employee, the executive director, should be reviewed by the supervisor of that employee. It is our legal and formal duty as a board of directors to make rulings on such complaints. If we make any statements that were indicative that this is not our duty, it may interpret it negatively for the organization, that we're not looking seriously on any accusation, whether they're true or not, against an employee of the board. The board have that fiduciary and ethical responsibility and legal responsibility to make a formal decision. So my point of order is just to refrain from making statements about the process, including what was just mentioned that may jeopardize our responsibilities. And thank you very much for trusting me, sharing this.
All right, I'd like to give Katrina, who's here virtually, an opportunity.
Can I finish?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
I gave opportunity for Sammy. If you read the policy as it is, as you read the policy as it is, the policy does not have the board directly involved in the investigation. The board still has legal counsel available and can get the information when it's directed to the executive director, but we don't lead the investigation. On the second item that was brought up, we have policy 3.5.4 that's been mentioned several times, that is in policy about ex officio members and their role on this board, and it needs to have a discussion that has not been had for quite some time, for at least a year, on whether or not ex officio can be in a voting position, which is what we have right now. So I do think that as far as including these on the agenda, getting clarification, what is the board's role in this? And likewise, clarification on 3.5.4 on ex officio should be added to the agenda. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeffrey, then Katrina.
So first of all, I'm not running for political office, and I never even wanted to be a school board member. I never wanted to be in school administration. My heart is for kids. I've been a teacher for 22 years. I've been a local association vice president. I'm a third generation educator. The one thing I have to say that is the hardest part of my job, and I have to say Sammy just triggered me and got some trauma response, and so I'm really trying to, my boss always says, talk from your healed response and not your hood response. But to say that I raised a concern because someone is a person of color really is a struggle for me. And I want to point out, I may look like I'm completely white, I'm sorry, I'm Irish. But if you notice, I have a lot of ink on me, and my right side, everything on there is because two of my kids are from Ethiopia. I had to tell my second grade son why kids were calling him the N-word and explain to him why. So to say that I have a concern about integrity in the leadership and that we're not following policy and we default because we are being discriminatory to people of color, every part of my generation and my family moving forward is going to be a person of color. There's not a day where I fear for my family's safety. I have to have visors for my son up on the top for car registration and insurance, so my kids will never, ever have to reach in for a glove box when they get pulled over by a police officer, and it has happened often. So to question me because I'm potentially not discriminatory to them because of color, because I raised a concern about a policy, is just not right. And we're talking about equity and we're talking about fairness, and I'm sorry, when we throw accusations like that for people who we all care about kids, but you're doing incredible harm to someone who's a second or third generation educator, because I love what I do for a living. And I'm sorry, just because I'm white doesn't mean that I don't worry about this shit. We have a policy. The policy needs to be addressed. We've asked for it for a year. I don't care if the person, what color they are. If we are talking about the integrity of this process, if we're talking about being transparent, I had to hire 3 superintendents in 4 years. It tore my community apart. I know what it's like to build trust. But what I guarantee you is that if we don't address this, you're probably gonna have half the people walk out of this meeting, you're not gonna have quorum. Do we want to function and have tough conversations? Or are we gonna avoid it and do what the state legislature does? And we have two options right now. I love what I do. I hate conflict. But the thing is for me, is that my social justice piece is so hard and so ingrained into me that I'm willing to piss people off to have the right conversation and do it in a loving, kind way. But please don't infer that I'm a racist, because I live this shit every day of my life.
I'd like to let Katrina speak if she can, she's online.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if everyone can hear me and my voice is just returning, but I appreciate being given the space, if at all possible. I have to second what Dawn said. I was far too ill to be able to join the special session and was not able to access those materials. It seems like we are not alone in that. So something that I would greatly appreciate is after this meeting, being able to access those materials. And then if another executive session needs to happen, it seems like that could be something that is due to happen. But at this moment, I do feel like I'm walking into this quite unaware, as I was not able to access documents. The other thing that is catching me off guard, and I understand that I was not physically able to be present this weekend, and maybe discussions happened there, but the last time we all gathered in a space to prioritize our students and to work as a collective body, there was a unanimous vote of support for Sammy to be grandfathered in and to be become our next president. And then there was a discussion that was going to happen in the future as to what that process might look like moving forward. And so I'm just unsure, and I'm feeling very confused on why this is happening now after that vote has been gathered, discussion was had. I in fact raised questions on wanting more information on that policy moving forward, understanding that Sammy would be grandfathered in, that his leadership was unanimously supported. And so I just understand that at least for me coming in right now, it feels like blindsiding. And I'm really trying to understand what I'm hearing from every person is that this feels confusing and that one way or another students want to be prioritized. I think that there is likely a very lengthy agenda for today. And I feel like it does not feel like integrity driven work to be trying to add to the agenda questions that were already discussed and unanimously supported at previous board meetings. So I would support not adding those measures to the meeting for today.
Thank you. So do I have a second? Katrina? Not having, are we doing a vote? Okay, I'm gonna let that go ahead.
I thought Jackie was next.
Jackie, go ahead.
I guess I'm in the same boat. That this is a big surprise to me, and I believe that it's completely unreasonable that we are talking about a person who has been going to be president-elect for a year in that position, and now we're having this discussion. If this was an issue, why in the world wasn't it taken care of? I mean, we're gonna look really something. We have a person that has been around the state as president-elect, and today we're saying that he's not eligible. Now, I don't know, I didn't even know that Sammy was an ex officio. So I have no knowledge about any of the issues that people are concerned about. But doing it today, after all the hours that we've been sitting in meetings, and we're gonna sit here and discuss that. The other thing about the whistleblower, and
and I didn't open up I didn't try to, so obviously it didn't work. But if we're gonna do anything about a whistleblower, it has to be an executive session. We cannot do it in open, and if we do, if there's a case brought against us, we lost because if it's an open session, that any information or testimony can be put in a newspaper. If we do it in open session. So we have, if the board has a case or whatever, we've lost it. If we talk about anything on that whistleblower case in open, so we would have to move into executive session. So, but I'm completely confused, and I didn't make the retreat, but that was September. And if it was, I don't know when this subject was brought up, but it should have been brought up the time that he ran for president-elect.
So I do have some comments. I'll have Sammy Dunn and I'll speak.
I was next.
I'm sorry, here. I'll go next.
Thank you. This is very difficult, and again, I'm concerned, and help me understand. That's the thing. I'm concerned and help me understand. So,
You're a rock star. Like you're on.
I am a rock star. That, Jackie, I'm sorry you wasn't at the meeting, but the complaint has been sent to us. So that's just like letting us have it, but some of us couldn't open it. Yeah, so the complaint is there. And listen to what Sammy said. I feel, and this is me speaking, yes, we should have known about the complaint. Yes, our executive committee could have passed it on, but I'm not sure if all of the executive committee knew about this. At the special meeting, I think only Sonia and Sammy knew about this. Nobody else on the executive team and nobody else on the board of directors knew about this. And some of you that are on boards, please don't take this wrong, because I'm concerned and help me understand. You don't read. And you just go with the flow, and I'm not a status quo. I'm not. I have to have clear understanding. I'm visual where I have to read. When I got that complaint and couldn't open it, I freaked out because I wanted to read it. So I started calling the office. Help me to get to this, and I never got to it. I never was able to open it. We as board of directors and executive team have the right to know. We represent OSBA. It's my understanding OSBA, we can talk to their attorney, but I'm not sure of that whole process. I'm not even sure of this attorney that was on this special meeting. I'm not sure how the attorney got all our emails sent out to us. They're not OSBA attorney, our attorney. I'm just needing some understanding. So to get back to the task, no, extend me 2 minutes, please. So to get back to what Sammy said, we may only have one option, and that's a vote of no confidence. Sammy has said to you guys, if you don't have confidence in it, a vote of no confidence, but it wouldn't be Sammy by himself, it would be Sammy and Sonia, because they have been leading this. So if you don't have confidence in what they have done in this process, we all can vote of no confidence, those who want to go with the not having read the policy and procedures or whatever that too, but we are in the dark. A lot of us are in the dark on this. And even could I add to what Katrina said, we're in the dark and we need to know. You don't have to mention the whistleblower name. I've been a whistleblower. A big one, go look up Linda Hamilton. I bet you that'll blow up the newspaper. Many times I've taken legal action for government abuse. So my first one was the Oregon State Penitentiary, so I know all about whistleblower. I took on Oregon Department of Corrections 1996. We're not talking about the names, but if there's officers in here that are in that complaint, we would want to know.
So I will, under done what I wanted to share, what was discussed in our open meeting. And the attorney also, and it's in the record of the meeting. Is that I received, I will only share what was shared in public meeting. Is that I received the whistleblower complaint reports on October 6th. Me and Chris Davidson received the report. With the guidance of the attorney of record who was hired by OSBA, who is the outside counsel for OSBA, she informed me of the process to proceed. She asked me to review the report, as I found that it was important to share with the board that I should do so. I asked for her to add my president-elect for continuity of service to be added into the consult, and so she consulted with us both. We made plans to we had a consultation. We plan to have the board meeting. We scheduled the meeting, the executive committee meeting. And so we made, and then she drafted the notice which she shared with the board in executive session. And the rest that happened in the meeting is on public record. We did ask about communication, about about the meeting, the parameters of the meeting were to share the report, the findings, and the recommendations. And they asked for the board to act if they so decided to do, that they felt it was necessary to do so. In addition to that, we asked verbally and by email if I could share the information and the findings with the executive committee. And she told me to only, if I was approached by a member of the executive committee, other outside of Sammy and myself, to only share broad overview, nothing specific, to wait until I could share and she could share everything in executive committee. I have proof, I have documentation of that email communication. She also explained that that there was no at any time any intention of this being related to Jim's position, his job performance, his job was never at risk. She promised me verbally and by email that she would share with Jim that the meeting was strictly pertaining to sharing the information in the report with the board, sharing the findings and the recommendations. And so she made that promise to me that she did communicate with Jim.
She did not.
I'm sorry?
She did not. I'm not gonna let you say that. She did not share any
Do not
information.
yell at our president.
I do have,
I'm done, guys.
I do have an email.
This is ridiculous at this point.
I do have an email to share, Jim.
I have emails as well,
I just-
Madam President.
Okay.
I have emails as well. You as a board took an operational decision at the last.
Point of order, point of order. This is,
So we can't let Sammy. talk
this is
about it.
this is out of control, Madam President.
It would never hurt Jim, ever.
Everyone needs to take a deep breath. There is so much information that the vast majority of this room just don't have any access to. There's clearly so many things that have happened that none of us have any idea about. This is all like obvious, like we have to start with the basics. We were called together to meet and none of us had the information. So we went into executive session and we still only had an oral update on the information. The executive session was called because the whistleblower complaint is about our executive director. That wasn't even shared at the meeting, clearly at the top of the agenda. So it's no.
Know that. So actually.
Because I've read the complaint now, it's been sent to us and I was, right, I was one of the lucky ones, I guess, that could open it.
I'm an attorney, I'm an ex-official member and I read the complaint.
Yes.
It's available to everybody.
Okay, just can I finish? So you guys, like, it's about our executive director. That doesn't mean he did anything wrong.
And it's,
Right? It means it's a whistleblower complaint that came to the right process, went to the not in-house, but contracted attorney.
that we have on contract for whistleblower complaints. Okay, right process. If that whistleblower complaint had nothing to do with our executive director, it may have never come to the board. So it came to the board because it's about our executive director.
She just called me, said I was concerning my right to privilege and that I offended her and that I.
So I have the floor right now. Chair.
So now we're using this as a public forum to do this?
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna do something that we're get away from me.
Yep, Sammy.
To adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
To-
I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to pause. Yeah. I think as an outsider, I think someone has to intervene to just pause. And we can't keep going in whatever way this is. I obviously don't know what's happening, but I do know what community is. I do know what integrity is. Let's just pause. Everyone take a deep breath, but this isn't working, so let's not continue to do it. Yeah, let's pause. Please breathe. You can check in with me. You could check in with us, but we're gonna take it also a bio break, a breathe break, a let it settle break. But we're just gonna interrupt something that's not working, okay? So please breathe, please check in with us, but this is officially, unofficially, because I don't actually know Robert's rules. We're pausing, all right? So mic's off. Managers side conversations, read your own agreements about how you promise to interact with one another. They're on the back of your nameplates. Check in with yourself, recommit to whatever it is that you need to commit to, but definitely do what you need to do to regain your own equilibrium. Breath is the fastest way to do that. So pause.
Are we pausing a recording? Is there recording?
We just pause for a recess.
Yeah, we'll take up,
That's recess, and you do not discuss this when you walk out of this room.
Manager side
we'll take
conversation.
up 10 minutes.
Pause.
Let's see who is here, see if we have a forum. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I know, do you mind doing roll really quick so I know who's here?
Mike Albright,
Present.
Ashley Carson Cottingham.
Here.
Jeffrey Crapper,
Here.
Chris Cronin.
Here.
Jackie Crook,
Here.
Lori Danzuka.
Here.
Katrina Dowdy,
Here.
present by Zoom. Neelam Gupta. Linda Hamilton.
Here.
Chris Howitt,
Here.
Greg Kintz,
Here.
Erica Lopez.
Here.
Steve Lowell.
Here.
Sonia McKenzie.
Here.
Alonso Oliveros,
Here.
Chrissy Wrights.
Here.
Scott Rogers,
Here.
Emily Smith.
Here.
Don Watson,
Here.
you have a form.
I'm gonna make some comments and then I'm gonna ask for a vote. It has been my pleasure to be your president this year. The first African-American woman to hold this position in the history of this organization. When I walked through the doors in 2019, coming to the first meeting was Erica Lopez, who was here. And she's been my sister in this work. I've given a lot of time to this organization. It's been all my vacation, all my holidays. I've had no vacations, been a lot of time because I love this work. And the people that are on this board in 2019 that are here today, I consider family. And I assume that I always had your trust. I have always acted with integrity, following our guidelines. I have a deep appreciation for the staff. I have a deep appreciation for all of you. A love, and then even love for children. And I have sort of a pride as an officer, and as your president. I have followed what I've been asked to do. I am a person of integrity. I am an open book. So I have, like the process that I have followed since October 6th. Let me see what's the right date. I have done so with the advice of someone that was hired to follow a process, and I did that with integrity, and I have the data, I have the information, to prove that. I have a deep, abiding appreciation and love for Jim Green that I don't think I can explain. He is my friend. And it's been a really painful experience, but I feel like I've lost one I love deeply. And I love this organization. And I'm doing everything I've done in the last 30 days, I've done because I want to protect the integrity, and the organization. And I've done that with all my heart. Today was supposed to be about a celebration, an acknowledgement of service to board members who have served for many years on this board. And I want to take a point of privilege as the president to give space to that because that was disrupted. So I would like to acknowledge Erica Lopez for her service on this board. I'm really grateful for your service and what you brought to the conversations we've had. Deep appreciation for your service. I also want to acknowledge Marie Wolf, who has been one of my mentors and inspirations. She was one of the folks who told me, I see leadership in you. And she's not here today, but I've spoken to her many times and thanked her for her guidance. I've modeled a lot of what I do in my leadership because of her great example. So I also want to acknowledge her leadership as she leads our board of directors. We can give her a round of applause. I want to acknowledge Scott Rogers for his service to this board. He is like a brother to me. I don't feel that way now, but I love him. And I have enjoyed every moment I spent with you, Scott, on this board, and I want to acknowledge your service. I know you have a deep love and appreciation of this association, the work of our school children, and I want to honor your service. Okay, so thank you. We have Chris Cronin, who will be our president-elect. I haven't known you for very long, Chris. I don't know that you have a deep love and appreciation for this work. And I also want to celebrate your leadership going forward. So thank you for your service. Emily Smith, I don't know you as well, very well either, but I know you've done some amazing work in the last year, building the rural caucus, getting that resolution created. And I want to acknowledge and thank you for your work and your leadership going forward. So I'm going to remind you all that we've lost some integrity today. This is a public meeting. Things that have been said and shared and expressed in this meeting are going to be something we have to live with. I maintain my calm demeanor, professionalism during this meeting when I convene the meeting. And so we are all going to be accountable for the words and the actions in this meeting. You'll be accountable for that. I want to express my appreciation for all the staff members. It's been an honor to work with you. It's been an honor to represent the organization as your board president. I've been around the country. I've been on television, panel interviews. I try to elevate the conversation about what we do and why we do it. I have done it as a woman of color, the first time in the history of this organization. Everything I did this year will stand. Everything I did this year, well, I stood with integrity. Everything I did it with decorum. I never raised my voice. I was never unprofessional. I followed the rules. I did what I was supposed to do. And I will stand by that. And so, yes.
Well, one person that we need to recognize is our amazing and wonderful president, Sonia McKenzie.
Yeah.
I have a card here, from signed by a member of the board, and, in lieu of flowers, I have candy. And, and we'll be making a donation to, Sonia's Charity of Choice, which is an amazing program, that she's partly, sponsored through the Oregon Community Foundation, but it's a, I need my notes. Very generous donations will go towards the Portland Opportunities Industrialization Center, the chef program, which is a piece of the Rosemary Anderson High School that is a culinary arts program serving students of homeless students, families of and let me see. The Rosemary Anderson High School serves 3,000 students, work trainees, and family, 80% Black or Latinx. They serve at-risk youth affected by poverty, family instability, and homelessness. So it's a chef program where they learn the culinary arts, and then they serve the food to the students in the high school. And that's what Sonia has chosen. So again, it shows her heart and her commitment, lifelong commitment in every area of her life towards students and making their lives better. I have traveled with Sonia over this last year. I can't tell you there's not a person on this earth that I admire more than Sonia McKenzie. In every situation, she has represented this organization with grace, poise, kindness, and deep intelligence. She has been a phenomenal representative. She's highly respected and known through nationally, actually. She was on the national stage in Orlando as a panelist. She's also serves as the Pacific Region president during the time that she's been our president. She's a force to be reckoned with. I really do believe that this is as exemplary as her year has been here. This is just the first step, or one of the steps in a long life of service to Oregon and students. And Sonia, it's just been a complete pleasure being with you and seeing you represent the OSBA and Oregon students. So thank you so much.
I'll make a couple more comments and then I want to pose a vote to you all. Yesterday was really pinnacle for me. As a member, founding member of the Color of Caucus. There's many of you in the room that are founding members. My family, my tribe. The dream come true yesterday. To be on the stage and to welcome and to introduce our next president. That was a dream of mine, to see the pathway, to see leadership reflected in the diversity of our state. And it was an honor to introduce Sammy and to hear his remarks about his vision. He is a man of integrity. He is smart. He is a tireless advocate for the work that he does. And I have a deep and abiding respect for him. And it was an honor to be able to introduce him yesterday. So I would respectfully ask, in light of our time, I would ask that we table this discussion and that we take a vote to adjourn. That we will reconvene and we will address the issues at hand. But I do not believe that we can do that today. So I respectfully ask for a vote by hand, by raising your hand to adjourn today. Raise your hand. A motion to, ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn and reconvene.
Do I hear a second?
I second that, but I would request that we don't do it over Zoom, that we have a face-to-face, that next meeting. That should not, we should all be in the same.
The first and second, any discussion?
We were scheduled for 9 to 12 here today. I ask that we move forward as adults and from the training we've had this weekend. No, I would rather as adult, we fix this matter and move forward today.
Okay, we have a first and a second, we'll do a roll call vote. There are no other.
Are we still in discussion?
Yes, we're still in discussion.
I just wanted to say that I feel that the topics that have been raised really do need detailed discussion and background information, that not everyone has. I've helped 2 board members get into the documentation. It's a complicated process because they're protected documents. I'd be happy to help any other board members get in there so that they can get up to speed. I really don't think today is the day to have the full-blown discussion on the 2 additional topics that have been raised. I really wish we weren't where we are right now. It's a difficult morning, I think, for everyone. And so I would respectfully ask that people support the president and move to adjourn so that we can have some time and space and structure around how we have the really important discussions that need to happen at a later time.
And Madam Chairwoman, my concern with adjourning and not addressing at least some aspects of what happened is we have a violation of trust. And we've had a lot of hurtful feelings, and seeing that how I was approached by a board member in hallway really concerns me because the threats were made. And for me, with my own anxiety, just kind of sitting in that kind of area is really disconcerting. And so I don't think we'll ever have a full sense of closure today. But I am concerned that if we don't address some sort of healing and reconciliation process, those emotions are just going to continue to grow.
Thank you for your comments, Stephanie. Okay, can we take a roll call vote? We don't have any other comments. Steve?
Robert's rules, we still have a motion on the table. Can we adjourn without finishing the motion? I don't believe so.
The motion to adjourn. We never had. So we're just sitting on the phone.
It's true. You know, I'm looking it up, but I believe. I believe,
not on.
I believe that when we have a motion on the floor that's open, you can recess the meeting. It's not adjourning it. It's a recess. So that keeps that motion alive. It would need to be addressed whenever we get back together again. But that would be what it is that we would recess this meeting and then continue it at another date. My other comment to that is we have some folks in the room, the Giving Tree. I'm not sure what they were going to present to us before, but whether or not they may pivot hard and help us maybe have some conversation while we're here, or if it's just too broad, we need to go. But as far as the meeting itself, we can pause it and then come back to it. And it does still have live motion on it.
And I'm looking it up to make sure.
Okay, so all stay,
Recess, yeah, recess.
here a motion to recess the meeting.
So you can
With
amend the
the
motion.
amend the motion. Amend the motion to recess the meeting,
Yeah, I will amend the motion.
so amended by Ashley.
I'll amend the motion. I move that we recess this meeting and convene at a later date.
So your second,
Well,
My concern is that we have people in the room that from the Giving Tree, and I don't know what that's about, but
that was our equity training,
oh, that was our equity training. I'm not ready to second it, so.
Agreed.
I guess I have a question if there's a way to, I do agree that there's a lot of unresolved just emotion and regulation, and I know that we have actually really great experts in the room that we could benefit from it right now. So I'm wondering if there's a way and how we make this motion to recess, but maybe do we, wherever we're doing training, do we have to be in a board meeting? Can we just stay here, whoever wants to stay here and participate?
yeah, we have, the other option under Robert's rules is we can table.
We can table the issue,
That's what I had said before, I wanted to table.
and so that's another option, and that doesn't really take a motion, by the way.
So I move to table the discussion with the two motions.
I'm a little confused.
I don't think the president can make a motion or move about it. Is it just not can't vote? They can, okay, because we're getting stuck again.
Yeah, we have one on the table though, so that's the problem.
But there's no second. We don't have to take a second. There's no second.
I second the motion.
So we have a second?
Yes, Katrina seconds, she's online, so we're into discussion.
Okay, so no more discussion. So with that, that means we can engage with the agreement practice. So we'll just do a vote, for the table to reset, or no, we're doing we're tabling the discussion. So there's a raise your hand to vote, if you approve. Are you ready to?
You can be big players, which one? Just rephrase the motion, because there's a lot of confusion at this table.
The motion was to recess. It was seconded by Katrina. But then the chair made, or the president made a separate motion to table.
The table.
I would like to withdraw my motion and defer to the president. Can I withdraw my motion?
Yes, you. Yes, you
Practice, I believe, is to vote motion down and do a motion, and it is pretty important in this moment in time that we get that right and clean.
The president motion seconded. Yes.
It was, I thought it was second. It wasn't.
Well, you've got one on the table.
We have to vote.
You have to vote down, that's one.
So the first motion to recess.
Second.
Okay. This vote not on it, okay. Well, so this is raise your hands to vote, to approve recess of the meeting. If you approve, raise your hand. You right. What are we gonna do?
Raise it high.
That's what I'm asking. Craig Albright, do you, on the motion, yes or no?
No.
Ashley, yes or no?
No.
Jeffrey, yes or no?
No.
Chris Cronin?
No.
Jackie Crook?
I abstain.
Lori? Yes or no? Katrina, yes or no?
No,
It's not right.
no,
Neelam? Linda?
no,
Chris Abbott?
No.
Greg.
No.
Erica,
No.
Steve. Alonso,
No.
Christie,
Yes.
Scott Rogers.
Yep.
Emily Smith,
No.
Don Watson,
No.
right, so that motion is defeated. So our next is. Oh, yeah, here, I'm
To
sorry.
table.
The table. So I move to table the discussion. And do I hear a first,
I'll second that.
first and a second? Okay. So we have a first and a second. Any other discussion?
On tabling, there is no discussion.
Tabling, there's no discussion. We take a roll call vote to table. Vote. Okay, so we'll do roll call. Craig,
No.
Ashley Carson,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
No.
Chris,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Katrina,
Yes. Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
That wasn't Linda. No.
Linda, yes or no?
No.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Ray,
No.
Erica,
Yes.
Steve? No. Was that a yes or no? Nice, yes. Alonso,
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Scott Rogers?
No.
Emily Smith,
No.
Don Watson?
No.
Um,
That's the president vote.
I said yes. So 1, 2. 10 yes. 8 no. Then the motion passes. The table of discussion. So I'd like to invite.
Um.
I'm sorry.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Is there a time, like, we state a timeline, or it's just able for the rest of the?
It'll be tabled and we'll, the executive committee will, plan, we'll let you know when we convene.
Okay.
We'll do it as soon as we can. Okay, so with that, I'd like to invite a member of the giving practice to come forward if you wanted to say something.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robin Eisenbach. I'm a facilitator with the Giving Practice. And today I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we have planned. We're not going to move forward with our curriculum, but today we have planned to review some of the work that we've done together in person and once over Zoom, and to make sure that you've heard from members of a working group at OSBA, which formed how long ago? 8 months? 8 months ago, an equity team that has been doing some really incredible, really hard work to build some tangible tools that can be used to increase equity and inclusion at OSBA. And we were going to turn some of our time over to staff members who've been a part of that equity team to share their work with you. Because we have this understanding that anytime we're talking about race, anytime we're talking about anti-racism, anytime we're talking about equity and inclusion, it just requires such deep engagement. And the engagement seems to be elsewhere today, which feels pressing. We don't want to just try to like shove equity and inclusion in. We really want to make sure that everyone's able to be as fully present as possible, and that the work that the staff have been doing gets their time and due. So we're also gonna pause and say, like, we're happy to come back and review with you all at a different time. we do want to make sure you see the hard work that the staff have been doing because they have been really putting in a lot of sweat equity about race equity. And so we want to make sure that the board gets to see what they've been up to as well. So we have some beautiful things to share with you, and we would love to rejoin you at a different date and share that work with you. Because this is the work that we do, which is really about community, I do just want to reflect that you all right now are mirroring what happens in community. Communities joy together, they work together, but they also sometimes rage together and argue together. It looks like every family, it looks like every community. So you're just in a moment of community. And you will, I know, I feel so certain, you will work through this moment and you will end up in a different place. But right now you're just reflecting what every community looks like at different points in time. So as I exit, I do just want to say, some of the work that we do is somatic and that we believe that this stuff lives in our bodies. So if you can take a moment to check in with yourself and just ask, what is it, like, where am I holding whatever it is that I'm holding in my body? Is it in my tummy? Is it in my throat? For some reason, I can hold a lot of the tension in my quads, and I think it's truly a fight or flight, like I want to run away. So I have all this tension in my legs. But where do you hold it in the body? What are you left feeling, like emotionally, not just physically? What are you left thinking? Which of your own agreements do you feel like you did really excellently at today? Which one do you need to dig into more and do you need to root back into? Who is it that you represent? And how did you represent them well today? And then how can you breathe into all of that? How can you breathe into all of that? As I walk away from the mic, I'm going to invite you all to take some deep breaths in and some deep breaths out as you do a bit of that own reflection.
Okay, and with that, I wish you all well, safe travels home, we'll be in touch soon. Everybody.
They are working to get lunches out because we have a travel lunch for you all to take with you. So if you give it 5 or 10 minutes, they'll have lunch out in the hallway that you can take.